get all the followers in the world. You can have millions of followers, but that doesn't equate to happiness. And I can be a prime example to that. I can say that because I've been through all this.
I'm so excited to connect with influencer, actor, and podcaster who has gained tons of notoriety across several social media platforms. Today, we're going to dive deep on which platform has benefited him the most, as well as what his why is for being an influencer and how it's felt to gain fame at such a young age. Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
Welcome to my bed.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you in it.
It's a pleasure to be in it.
I was going to ask you, does your girlfriend know you're in my bed today? Did you give her
What a
heads
great
up?
start. I did give her a heads up that I'm on your podcast. Did not know the setting located. I didn't know, so I'm clear on that.
Yeah, you
know?
just tell her later.
Yeah,
or when it comes
Or
out.
when it comes out, yeah.
She'll see.
Yeah, she'll see.
Yeah,
Hello.
I'm so excited to have you
I'm
here.
excited to be here.
I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
I've seen you do a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm. Did you see me on the internet before we met?
Yes, I feel
Dope.
like I have. Yeah.
dope.
And I did obviously a lot more digging on you than usual recently, so I know more about everything. Because usually when you're friends with someone, you don't go like researching everything. You're like, I'll just hear. But when I did some digging, you've obviously accumulated over 13 million plus followers from what I've seen, if not probably more from what I've just collected. And you're on so many different platforms. So walk me through some of the platforms you're on and that you've started on and all that.
Yeah, so I got my start on Vine. Everyone, I feel like knows what Vine is. And prior to that, I was on Facebook a little bit. I kind of got my start on the local area by just like uploading a lot of like high quality photos and stuff like that. And then little by little, after some of my photos went viral on Tumblr, weirdly enough, in like 2012, 2013, started posting. Vine came around, and then obviously now Vine isn't here. So my main platforms that I'm on now are Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, like YouTube Shorts, and then like YouTube for my podcast. But other than that, it's and then TikTok, I guess.
TikTok, that's like 6 platforms.
Yeah, it's so much. It's like, it's just, it's a lot. Because you're like, all right, upload it on TikTok today, I'm good. And you're like, oh crap, I haven't uploaded on Instagram in a week. And it's like,
And then you're like, and what about Snapchat?
exactly.
What
and
about
like,
YouTube?
What about Twitter? I haven't tweeted in 4 years. Like, what's going on? So it's a lot to keep up with. And like, people have their different personalities for different social medias, weirdly enough. Like what I would,
like, it's hard.
yeah. And like what I would post on TikTok is way different than what I would post on Instagram, which is way different than what I would post on Snapchat, and it's just like, it's a lot to keep up with, but you got to do it.
That's kind of what I was going to talk with you about, is like obviously looking at new platforms and understanding like what your strategy is.
Yeah.
But first I want to hear like what makes you go into so many other platforms, because a lot of influencers today, like some of them are just like Insta stars or TikTokers or whereas you've literally built like millions of followers on every platform, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think early on my brother, so he was graduating for business marketing as I was kind of getting more well versed in the whole social media thing, and he always told me, he's like, dude, like diversify your followers, like always be pushing people to other platforms, because Vine could easily just not be here tomorrow.
Which
happened, and it happened, and I lost like 6.3 million followers in a blink of an eye.
That's
It's like,
crazy feeling.
just like, it's here one day, gone the next, and you're like, oh, okay, we got to innovate now, so that's
crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely a hit, but it is
It's
what it
crazy
is.
how that probably feels like you like lost a child.
Oh, it's crazy, because that was my first platform that I ever hit 1 million on, and all the other platforms I hit a lot of my followers on, or hit these millions on, were stemmed directly from Vine. So I felt like Vine, I built literally from the ground up, from 0 to 1 million. I will never forget exactly where I was when I hit that 1 million mark, and I'm like, holy crap, like this is real, like this is millions of people, like, or this is 8 million people, but like, it was so wild. And then like all the other platforms, were trickling up in followers too. But yeah, it just was like the whole rug pulled from under me when they're like, Vine's going, and I'm like, that sucks.
Do you feel like your belief was stronger when you looked at other platforms because you already kind of figured it out on Vine? Or do you feel like every time you see a new platform, it's just as hard?
I mean, nowadays, just with the oversaturation of creators in general, it's a lot harder to garner that engagement and to gain that audience. Luckily, I came into social media at a time when it wasn't as oversaturated, so I still kind of have that real estate in people's minds, which TikTok, for instance, has helped a lot. Like, I'll upload a TikTok and people be like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 4 years. Oh my gosh, so nice to see you again. Great seeing you doing well, blah, 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 blah. So it's cool to start, like, getting back to like a lot of those like OG followers that, you know, maybe aren't being served my Instagram posts anymore, because I've been on Instagram for a decade now, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so it's definitely difficult to keep that engagement alive. But at the end of the day, it's like, for me, that was always a secondary thing, because acting and anything in film and TV has always been like my number one goal. So social media has always, for me, been a tool and just a way for me to connect with people who enjoy watching the things I put out.
What platform do you like the best right now?
I think on a virality standpoint, definitely TikTok. On a personal standpoint, Snapchat. Just because like I can upload on Snapchat like 30 stories in one day and not feel like pressured to have every story be perfect, or have any story be perfect for that matter. And so Snapchat, just because it doesn't have this like you need to be perfect tone, you know. And Instagram, for instance, has that, and like everyone's Instagram has to be perfect, and they're going to give the best version of themselves all the time on Instagram and all this stuff. And like, so
Snapchat's like a vlog almost of pictures.
Literally. So you could just be on the road, upload a photo of a stop sign, you're like, all right, that's my story, and people are like, cool, that's your story, and then they just go to the next thing. And it's like, it's fun. It's not as much pressure. So that's like, I definitely like Snapchat the most right now.
Which I feel like our generation is moving towards. Like, people want to see like a more authentic side of people that isn't so perfect. And I feel like that's why Instagram initially was doing so well, because it was so perfect. But then it got to a place where everyone's like, okay, I'm over it being so perfect. And like, what's the real side of these people? And then I feel like that's why TikTok also blew up, because you saw like even just Insta models starting like dancing and like random shit that you've never seen a side of these people before. You're like, oh wow, it's a whole different side than I was expecting, you know?
Yeah, and it's nice to see that people aren't taking themselves as seriously as time goes on the internet, because the more you take yourself seriously on the internet, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's good to take yourself seriously, but not too much to where it's affecting your authenticity.
Yeah, that's true.
And that right there is just a big issue I feel like a lot of people have, that they don't even realize is an issue. And so, yeah, it's nice to have these platforms that are coming back and being like, hey, it's just Snapchat. Like, just upload 40, 50, 60 stories in one day, and people will watch it. And then if they like it, they will reply, and they'll keep on watching. If not, like, it's okay.
Do you feel like TikTok's like one of the few platforms you can really grow on right now?
Yeah, for sure. And the thing, even with TikTok, you know, there's like these trends that are coming and going every like 2-3 days. Like back then, you don't go on the internet for like a week, you might miss one trend at most. Nowadays, you're off the internet for 4 hours, you miss 40 trends. You're like, dude, what the hell? Like,
yeah, that's insane.
Like, I remember like even just, like TikTok has that virality, but even also like with Instagram kind of going into like the sheep mindset of everyone. For instance, there was that week of everyone posting, for instance, those AI photos.
Yeah.
Me being one of them.
I know, I did too.
And it's like, there's like this thing. It's like Instagram is one mind, for instance. So, which is why I do appreciate TikTok, because it is so vast.
Yeah,
and like
true.
It gives a lot more people chances to blow up and have their videos go viral, whether or not the views are real. Like,
I know, that's another thing.
That's a whole nother topic of TikTok, of whether or not these views are real. Because the amount of stories I've heard from people be like, yeah, I uploaded like one TikTok and it went viral, my first one. So that got me to post more. I'm like, yeah, there's a science behind that. There's a person in the office clicking go viral and not go, like.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I've heard that too. So many people have like
their first one.
Yeah, got like
viral.
a million views, and they're like, now I do TikTok all the time. I'm like, and then they're never getting a million again.
Yeah, and like it's really interesting too. Like, I even noticed that a big creator that I follow, he was mentioning that he was saying like he was literally, it was like a green screen video of him on his profile, like showing everyone like, see, I'll get 1 million or 2 million or 1 million or 2 million views here. My videos will drop a bit, and then they serve another one of my videos after like the third or fourth one, and it gets like millions. And I noticed with my page too, it's like that. It's like I'll get a lot of views on one video, and then I know for sure the next like 2 videos, next 3 videos won't get served that much to get me to like look at it and be like, that one got 2 mil. This one's only getting 60K. I gotta post again. And then like I gotta post again. And then I gotta post again. Oh, I got millions of views. Oh, but the next one, like they take you on this like up and down engagement journey where like they keep on like they feed you what you want, then they take it away. Then they feed you what you want, then they take it away. And it's like same thing with me. My first TikTok that I went on, it went viral. Then it didn't. And then like after like 3 videos, it went viral again. And I'm just like, y'all know what you're doing and y'all are so smart. It's
That's
like
interesting.
like it's really like you could literally even go to my page and see that it's like a lot of views, 2-3 videos, not that many, and then a lot of views and then 2-3 videos, not that many. And like it's literally like it's so interesting.
Wow.
Like,
Do you feel like with like these platforms, even like TikTok, like there's a lot of people that say the only way to grow is to be consistent all the time, and then there's some people like I met this guy the other day at a coffee shop randomly, and I've seen him on TikTok, and I was like, I respect you because he's hilarious, and he's been around like before TikTok really blew up. I saw him from like early days on there, but like he was telling me how he like plans out his episodes or his like videos for like 2 weeks, and he like does like a full-on production. Like they write the script, they like cast their friends and make sure they can fit the roles. Like I'll show you their TikTok after, but like they go above and beyond, and they don't post all the time because they're doing such like quality stuff. Even though they're doing it, making it look not like it's on a professional camera, but they're still like really taking the time. They have a lot of thought into what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they have tons and tons of followers. But then there's people that are constantly like just doing the trends every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that are just like, okay, I'll be consistent, but in my own way. Like, what things do you feel like do the best?
That's a good question. And I feel like overall, what does best is whatever you kind of trained your audience to understand. You know, there will be those audiences who are like, oh yeah, I know this person's videos will come out maybe just 2 times a week, but they're so good, I will give them that time. I trust them with my time.
Yeah, that's true.
On TikTok. So I'm okay with them posting twice a week because it's great quality content. But like if I'm watching some other person's TikTok who I know they are trend chasing all the time, which is its own grind, you know, then that's cool too. Like then I will expect you to see you on my following feed every single day, posting just quantity over quality type stuff. And like for me, I like to do a little bit of balance of both, where like I'll see a cool sound that I know is like 0 friction from recording to uploading, you know. I'm just like, oh, easy sound, I can just knock it out, upload it, done. And then there's other ones where I'm like, oh, I have this idea and I really want to craft it and put it together. But overall, it's just whatever you kind of trained your audience to know, which for me is kind of not good, because what has allowed me to be on the internet so long is because of these random breaks I'll take on the internet, allowing my mental health to just kind of like rejuvenate, for lack of better terms, because the internet is just so mentally draining.
Yeah.
And just so mentally draining. So it's tough, and there's no rhyme or reason to what would work and what doesn't work. It's just kind of whatever you've trained your followers to expect from you.
Yeah.
And like me, like I'll randomly go on a spree of like posting few times a week for a couple months, and then just like not post anything for a few weeks, and then like I ebb and flow with it all. But
it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot
and
of
I
pressure.
feel like if you're judging yourself by your numbers all the time, it's like it's a psychological like thing. It fucks with your head.
Oh yeah, like anything, social media is a tool. Like, you know, driving a car is a tool. You could use it to get from point A to point B, or you could do some really terrible things with the car. You know what I'm saying? Like illegal things with the car, and have it be a weapon, for instance. But it's a tool at the end of the day, and if you don't know how to use the specific tool that you're utilizing, it can work against you or it can work with you. And social media is one of those tools that people don't even realize the effect it's having on their mental health, even just by going online. Let's say you just left the gym, you're feeling great, and you go online, you go on Instagram. First post you see is like for prime example, I could be at the gym, and I get in my car, and I'm happy, and I'm about to go post a story, right? But the first post I see after I leave the gym, let's say, is a dude who's just like ripped. Automatically, if I'm not happy for him being ripped, my brain's gonna be like, you're not him. Yeah, and it's just this automatic contrast that is thrown into your brain subconsciously. We don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
And then like there's just this feeling of like, damn, I'm not good enough. Like, yo, that sucks. And it's just like, so people don't know how to manage their literal mental when they're going on these social media platforms. It's very dangerous, and a lot of people have gotten depressed from it, and it's really sad. That's why also with me, I try to be as authentic as possible, just to kind of like lead my followers into understanding like, yo, like you don't need to be this specific person on the internet. You can post whatever, like oh, your boxing session wasn't the coolest video ever. Doesn't matter, upload it. You don't need to be a pro boxer to upload you like hitting some pads, or you don't need to be lifting the biggest weights to show that you are trying to better yourself in the gym. Like,
It's true.
like you can be a work in progress too on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what people, they have this final like picture idea of like, okay, I need to only put, like it's like a cartoon. Like everyone's gonna be their best cartoon character, and like I just am like, yo, I'm a human.
It's almost like nowadays, the more you overthink things and the more you try to be perfect for, like, say you wanted to go into fitness, like you said, and you're like, okay, I need to get the best gym and the best equipment and I have to come up with the best workouts, and you're like overthinking everything. Usually that's when nowadays it's like it's harder and it maybe doesn't do as good and all that stuff. Because what I've realized too is you have to like build it into your life and do stuff like you, number one, actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And like number two, if it's not fitting into your life, you're not going to be consistent either. So you have to like find like an easy way to be like, okay, this is the workout I would really do today.
Yeah.
And then I film it. And then it's like, okay, people might just get inspired by seeing you work out. And like nowadays, what's pretty fucking crazy is the fact that like live streams are showing that people just want to watch you live your life. Like there's live streams now where people like watch people sleep and shit. Like they just want to watch you do anything.
Yeah.
Like
they just want
content.
to relate to someone. They want to have this commonality with someone at some point, and they're not going to have it if you're having this like overproduced thing of you in the gym and doing all this extra things. It's like, yo, just show me you struggling in the gym actually. Like I want to feel relatable to you. I want to feel like I'm looking at another human being who's going through their processes and they're working on themselves and their evolution in general. Like we're all evolving. Like no one's perfect, and like and like you said, the more people are overthinking it, the more they're just literally not doing. More thinking is less doing, and it's just like you could go on a million different online courses like, oh yeah, do you want to get ripped in 60 days? Check out my online course. Like the amount of advice, the amount of stuff I've researched, the amount of things I've learned, just even on working out, dieting, lifestyle, fitness, this, that, even just in the last 3 or 4 years, like there's never a wrong way to do it and there's never a right way to do it. Like what works for someone might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for someone else. So it's like, and that's what comes from experimenting. That's what comes from having your own experience and trying it out and seeing what works. Like a friend of mine, Ilya, he works out every single day. Every single day without failure. That's it. And you know, I did a 90-day challenge right before the year ended last year. Like I finished up right around on my actual final day was, or the day before my final day was at the party. It was at your Halloween party.
Oh, cool.
So
that's why you were so ripped.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? I barely was able to get through the door. I was massive, you know? But it didn't work for me. 90 days just didn't work for me. And I did 90 days of working out and it was really hard, but I realized like that's not sustainable for my mental health. And I do like working out at minimum 4 times a week. But those other days, like I'd like to go on a run or something or this or that because life happens.
Exactly.
And things come up.
That too.
And meetings happen and then this and that. Next thing you know, it's 8 p.m. and you're like, oh my God, I haven't worked out today. And that's okay. That's okay. It's how you are talking to yourself. It's how you're treating your own self and be like, it's okay. I worked out 3 other times, this week.
It's so true.
Like that self-talk is so important.
It's like reinstalling like positivity, because I was learning that too. Like every time you're like negative to yourself and you're like, oh my God, I didn't do this. Like you're installing a negative thought, which makes you continue to not do it. Whereas if you're like, you know what, like I just worked out yesterday, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
More like positive. But another thing I was thinking of what you were saying too about the mental health thing. Like there's a lot of people nowadays that want to be creators. And like you said, it's really saturated. But even so, like with the mental health part, if you're making a video and then you're like doing this and you're hustling, and then you go online and you automatically see someone else's post and you're like comparing yourself. You're like, oh, mine's not as good as that.
Yeah.
And like that's another part of it that makes you like hold yourself or not do it or continue. That's a
Yeah.
really hard piece.
It is really hard. Yeah, because that especially with like the fact that people can hide likes now and this and that, and people have this ideology of like, okay, you were getting millions of likes in this time, so 4 years later, if you're not getting the same amount of likes or engagement, like you fell off or this or that, and it's just like people come and go. People like there's actors, for instance, who will pop out for a couple months, do a crazy film, and then they're chilling for like 10 months, 9 months. You're not seeing them, and it's like people have this ideology of like constant relevancy, and it's like that is just not normal. That's not healthy. It's just not to feel like you always need to be on, feel like you always need to be in people's faces. Like you're now living for these other people, and it's just like,
and there's a lot of creators that do that, and it's so like there's like a deep hole of just like constantly thinking you're gonna get to somewhere, but it's just like
it's just they're burning the candle at both ends. And like you said, with this comparison, then people start this terrible self-talk. And I remember even for my own self, like I got to a point where I started isolating myself a lot and just being in my own home and not seeing many people. And like my only form of social interaction would be like playing video games with my friends from back East Coast, back on the East Coast, and like, and just being like hard on myself. And then I saw a video once of an actor. He was talking to this college whole bunch of kids at college, and he was pretty much telling them how like important it is to be your own best friend and to have that positive self-talk. And he said, if I talked to my friends the way I talk to myself, I would have no friends.
so true.
And I was just like, whoa, like that's so true. And it's so important to just constantly treat ourselves with kindness and to know what your why is. That's the biggest thing too, is like know your why. Like, why am I posting right now on Instagram?
Yeah.
Why am I posting on TikTok? Is it because I enjoy this video? Is it because I enjoy creating something? Cool. If that's the case and I upload, then I did what my purpose was,
That's so true.
If my why is to go and garner attention, then now I need to ask myself, what is enough attention to have me feel fulfilled?
Yeah.
And then if I don't get that, then I don't feel fulfilled. And then it starts this whole, cycle again of feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
And so knowing your why is, when people have tried to ask for advice, like, I want to get into social media. What do I do? What do I do? Like, how do I do this? I'm like, first off, understand you have to know what your why is. Second off, don't compare. Third off, like, understand that authenticity will always drive your happiness. And what you put out on the internet is all day long. People could be putting out this fake stuff on the internet and then going back home and feeling like depressed when they look at themselves in the mirror. And it's like, social currency is the most valuable thing, in my opinion, on this planet. Like, how our effect on other people is like, that's what's going to be left. It's not about how many views, like when I'm gone, oh, he gained 20 million views, or 20 billion views over his lifetime. Like, I don't care for that stat at my funeral. I don't care for that. I want to know how many people I'm able to, to impact, how many people's lives I can change, how many people have been able to come to my Instagram, see a post of me not being perfect with however many millions of followers and being like, oh, he has the guts to post that in front of his millions of followers. That's refreshing. Okay, cool. Like,
true.
There's so many people who have the followers that are in my range. It's like they always have to do the same. They're just so linear. They're just so like one dimensional. And it's just like, yo, you can have layers. You can be a human being. And it's like, and then they fall into this character that other people have made them become.
It's so true.
And I'm just like, so much. I'm like,
I've seen that. So I've met obviously I have so many influencers I know that it's almost like I didn't understand it at first, but they're like, it's so much pressure and it gives them anxiety that they walk into a room and they know that other people, they might not be what other people expect them to be. And so they like more quiet or more timid or more to themselves. And don't really want to talk to people. And then you're like, oh, like it, and it happens probably with celebrities too. You look at them, they're like in their corner. They don't really socialize. It's like, it's a lot of pressure to try and be everything everyone else expects you to be.
Exactly.
It's like,
and that's why I appreciate like even just the older times of acting where like people just did the work. They showed up to set.
Yeah.
They did their performances, for instance, and then they went home that day. And then that was it. It wasn't like, now I need to go post a story and this and that and help, garner this specific ideology of who I am. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm just an actor, I'm just an actor. You don't know who I am potentially if I don't have an Instagram. Like, and that's why I try to be as authentic as I can on the internet, just because like I don't want to then have to be someone I'm not when I'm around people, which I know will happen anyways. I know I'm going to be around people. I know I'm going to have to do this red carpet or this thing or go to this event, hang out with this person, be at this party with this person. And I don't want to have to like live up to this fake facade that I've, put out. You know what? I'm just going to be me. And like little by little, as time has gone on and I've gained more confidence in myself, it's allowed me to post more things of just myself and just not feel like everything needs to be perfect.
Well, I was thinking too, like you're probably a lot this way too, because you got famous really young, right?
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
So I started gaining a fan base on a local side of things, like in like 8th grade.
Which is insane.
Yeah, I was like 14.
That's why I feel like your mindset is this way. Because you've like gotten it, but you've also like seen the process of this life.
Oh yeah, and the thing is too is like my why of getting into social media was so different than majority of all these kids getting into it nowadays. They see what can happen from social media.
Yeah.
They see that, oh, this Viner did this and he went to do this or she did that and this happened. Now they're in LA and they're blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like when I first started, it was a new app. I was on a double date with my friend. We were in high school now at this point. I was in 9th grade, and I was we went on our ice cream date, and then we dropped the girls off. We were just playing some lacrosse in his basement, and he told me, he's like, "Yo, download Vine." I was like, "Oh, is that 6-second app?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Nah, man, that's lame. I don't want to do that." Very glad he told me to do it. I ended up downloading it, but it wasn't because I could get famous off of it. It was just like I enjoyed making my friends laugh in class, at home, online, whether playing video games, Xbox, Call of Duty, all that stuff. And so I made it, and I just made funny videos that I thought were funny, and I didn't think anything would come from it, and it did. But nowadays, people are going in with this expectation: if I get this many followers, and I can move to LA, and I can get brand deals, and I can
and it's a lot of pressure. It's like, and I feel like the more you're like planning all these things and saying how it needs to look, the more you're like resisting it from happening. Because like I've heard that a lot of times when I've talked to different talent too. They're like, at least the ones that have gotten famous before, they're like, I didn't even really know for sure that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that with my own business, like with my company, like so many times when I built a company before, I was like, this is going to be the one. It's going to be fucking crazy, all the shit. And it was like so much planned and expectation around it. And then with my latest company that helped me get so much more successful, I didn't feel that way at all.
Yeah.
And it always
And
makes
it's
me
interesting
wonder,
how
I
it
was like,
works.
how did I not? Like, I remember even picking the name. I'm like, sure, we'll just do that. Like, I didn't even care, like, about titles, what position I'd be. I was like, whatever, we'll just go with it. And then that was the one that blew up after I literally tried probably 30 different companies. Not having so much pressure around things that you're trying to go after is a big thing, I feel. And so going back to the reason why you're doing social media, like you said, when you first started, you actually enjoyed just making your friends laugh, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because I've learned that too. Like the more you actually enjoy the process of what you're doing and you're not putting so much pressure about how it needs to look, the more then you can actually like get there, or not have when you have so much expectation, it's not that you're comparing, so you just have fun.
Yeah.
And it was funny because this guy, he's like a really big agent and he manages like a ton of A-listers and stuff like that. And he called me one day. He's like, "Hey, Tara, no, this is weird, but can you give my daughter like 20 minutes of your time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Like, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to set a day." He's like, "I just want her to meet you and stuff." So I was like, "Sure." So they came to my office and she's like 15. And he's like, "Okay, so she just really wants to be an influencer." He's like, "She just wants to be a content creator, influencer, all this shit." He's like, "Obviously, I know tons of celebrities." I told her, "Do you want to do music, acting? Like, let's do something else." And she's like, all she cares about is being an influencer. And so it really showed me that day, which I've already kind of known, but it's interesting where the entertainment industry is going. Like, the Gen Z, like their celebrities are influencers now.
Yeah.
Like they're like, think the influencers like their dream life, you know, more than even a celebrity. So it's interesting to see like where that's gonna go.
Yeah, and because of me being on the internet for so long and seeing the constant shifts of why people even get into it and all this stuff, I was watching this video and they were asking a whole bunch of kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they were asking kids from literal different countries. And all the kids in America were saying, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a vlogger, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a TikToker. Like majority of these kids were saying that. And it's so interesting, the word influencer. Like, what does that mean? That means you are influencing someone. You are a person of influence. And there's bad influence and there's good influence. And there's authentic influence and there's fake influence. There's so many different things. So for someone to be like, I want to be an influencer, it's just like, we got a lot of groundwork to do first. So let's unpack this. You want to be an influencer. Okay, so you want people to listen to what you have to say. You want to influence people's decisions on their daily life. That's what an influencer is, right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. It's like, okay, what do you want them to influence? Like, what do you want to influence them to do? And then you ask an influencer that, and they're like, and then you're like, oh, so you pretty much just want attention. Got it. And that's like, so that's why I always, when people are like, I want to be an influencer, I'm like, okay, well, find yourself first. Then we'll talk about influencing.
Yeah.
Because like you can influence all day long, make all these awesome videos, literally be a carbon copy of a trillion other people on the internet. And you're still going to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and not know who you're looking at.
Exactly.
And, like,
not be fulfilled.
And not be fulfilled.
And I think a lot of people don't realize, even when you get those followers, if you're not like happy and feeling authentic, you're not happy, like you won't actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like so many influencers I know are just like, again, still comparing themselves to the next influencer and don't feel like they really have it. And that's because they're not being authentic.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how many influencers you meet that are nothing like their Instagram or social medias. How many influencers do you meet like that?
It's insane. And I'm just like, oh, wait, you're like super boring. I'm like, wow, you have done zero self-work. That is, whoa, let's like go on a run. Let's go find our, like, what's your favorite music? Like, have you seen a movie recently that has like touched you? Have you made someone smile in the last week? Like what, like who are you? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, I don't know, I just kind of like post and that's kind of like it. I'm like, what does this mean? Like, this is so surface level. And it's just like, I've gone through so much like bull crap on the internet of like having to find myself and not that that's bull crap, of just like feeling like I have to find myself because people are putting me in this bubble of this or that or this or that. And I'm just like, that's why I take a break from social media. I'm just like, yo, this is a full thing. Like, if people don't know how to balance it, like, and I just went on a rant the other week on my Instagram about it. I was just like, people are doing all this stuff, but they don't even like know themselves. And it's just like, it blows my mind. So I just hope that this new generation understands that, like, look, you can get all the followers in the world. You can have millions of followers, but that doesn't equate to happiness. And I can be a prime example to that. I can be a literal, like, I can say that because I've been through all this and I've understood that followers don't equate to happiness. It comes from within. And it's like, I always thought that, with happiness and with joy and all this stuff, it's something that, like, okay, once I hit this many followers, then I'll get this brand deal, and then this company will work with me, and then this agent will do this, and then they'll start seeing me as not just an influencer, but like maybe an actor too, which is what I want to be looked at as. And then once I get that set, or once I'm on set, then I'll be feeling good because then I'll get the respect from the people who I, respect. And this, like, I thought that it was something to be acquired. Like, joy, happiness is something from me acquiring something. And a lot of it just comes from doing new things, experiencing new things. Like, go see a movie by yourself. Go to the theater by yourself and just watch a movie. And like so many people, when I say that to them, they're like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I'm like, no, the idea that you always need to be around a human being is weird. Like, that's like what? Like, but then there's a balance to it, because then I'll end up getting into a scenario where I then isolate myself.
Yeah.
And luckily I've been able to get out of that being back in with my girlfriend. It's been, allowing me to, like, she'll like drag me out of the house sometimes. She's like, no, let's like get out of here. I'm like, you're right. Like, let's.
Yeah, it can be way too antisocial.
Yeah, I'll become way too antisocial. So I'm still working on that. I'm 25 and I'm still figuring out who I am still. And, so it's just.
Do you feel like it's because you were so young when you got famous? And I even remember one time me being with you and like fans walking up to you to take photos with you and stuff. So like that does somewhat, like, obviously it's a beautiful thing, but then it also could fuck with your like mindset and mental health. Mm-hmm. So like being so young, having so many fans and all this stuff, like, do you feel like you hit like a wall where you're just like,
It's interesting because, you know, in the next 5 years, it'll be almost half of my life has been in the line, has been like in public almost, you
Yeah.
know, because it's been around 10 years now. And even just like, you know, the other day I went to go see this movie called The Whale, and I just went by myself, and the person who was like I went to go grab a water or something, and right before I go into the movie, the person who was like checking me out, she's like, I remember watching you on Vine and MagCon, like, so even like that, like I had like one interaction with that person in the, you know, at AMC, and like they knew who I was. So like it throws me back into this world of like, oh wait, like I've been on the internet. Like
You forget.
I forget sometimes, and it's interesting, but it also feels good, and I feel like that's why I stepped back from the internet, because I just kind of wanted to feel normal every now and then.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds super like oh, we get it, like you have fans and you want to be normal, like, oh, get in line, like there's people killing to be in your position. I fully understand that, but like with mental health coming into play, like you have to be able to feel like people aren't always watching you and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So like because of how early on it was, like I didn't even really comprehend everything that was happening
Yeah.
with how fast it was happening. We're like, I'm in school from Monday to Thursday, and then on Friday I have to leave early because I have to get on a flight to go to this city to go meet fans who are paying to meet me, and then I have to come back to
Yeah,
school
like
on Monday.
how did that feel?
Like
That's
Hannah
a crazy
Montana,
experience.
I was like Hannah Montana. I felt like I couldn't talk about it at school, you know, like I couldn't go back to school and be like, yo, I was just in Chicago, met over 1,500 girls who paid to meet me and a whole bunch of my friends, and we were running around the hotel doing whatever we wanted, and it was
Yeah.
so much fun, and like blah blah blah. Like I can't say that. I would sound beyond cocky, beyond arrogant, just like everything. So like I'm now back in school in geometry class Monday. I'll never forget this actually. I was in school one day after a lot of this stuff was starting to happen, and I literally took a moment. I'll never forget this. I'm just in geometry class. I hated math. That was the worst subject, by the way. So I was really not paying attention. And I went to a private Catholic school. So everyone's in the same uniform. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking around. I'm like, I am wearing the exact same thing. I'm in the same grade as I'm being put at this like equal tone as everyone, but I just feel like I don't know why I feel so different right now. I don't feel like I belong here, but I don't know where I belong. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to go to LA, and my dad started calling me Mr. Hollywood when I was like 5 years old. So that's always been,
Whoa, that's cool.
yeah. And that was something that I feel like was just,
Manifested.
yeah, literally, you know, and so I don't know. It just felt different, and that's kind of like when I started making my decision. I was like, maybe I am
Mr.
not
Hollywood.
Maybe I am Mr. Hollywood, right? No, I was just like, maybe I am different in this way of like, maybe I am not supposed to do this right now. Maybe I'm not supposed to graduate the same high school that my other three siblings graduated. Like, but then even that right there was so like, I'm just going with the flow. And when you're younger, you're a lot more present than you are as you get older.
Yeah.
You know, because then we get older and we start having these like certain experiences that we know will go into other experiences. So now we start trying to calculate everything as we get older because we think we know everything as we get older. When like,
Yeah.
then we get 5 years older and we're like, oh wait, I didn't know anything at 20 when I thought I knew everything at 20. You know what I'm saying? And
Always feel like that.
like literally, and then I'm gonna get to 30 one day. I'm like, damn, I thought I knew everything at 25. You know,
Yeah.
like then I get to 35 and I'm like, damn, I thought I knew everything at 30. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm always, you know,
Yeah. Which is cool, thank God.
right?
Keep growing.
Yeah, literally. Some people will stay in that same like
Yeah.
just very stagnant in their experiences, and but yeah, I rabbit trailed super hard, but the point is I just never really understood because of how young I was what was happening, also because there was no one before me. Like if there was already a bunch of Viners who had already been doing this, or like YouTubers were, you know, they were big YouTubers at the time and all this
Yeah.
stuff, but they weren't looked at as like influencers, or like they were just YouTubers, you know, and
Oh,
like,
that's a YouTuber.
yeah, it's just a YouTuber, you know, and it's like, but things really started like changing with a lot of this Vine stuff, and I didn't know because I'd never seen anything like it, so I couldn't really comprehend
Where it was heading.
where everything was heading, and like, so it
But
was,
even the thought process you had then when you're in class and you're looking around and being like, I feel so different than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like those little pieces are what I love, because even for this podcast, like my whole thing that I love to see with people is to like see people that have like completely broken the traditional path of getting successful. Like to me, that's like the most fascinating thing.
yeah,
And so like I just love people that are like, okay, this is the path that was laid out for me to get successful. And they're like, actually, I'm just going to totally go this way. And you have no one to even compare it to. You don't even know what path you're going on, but you're like, I'm just going to figure it out.
No, literally.
You know?
It was terrifying. I mean, I'm sitting here as a sophomore gaining, hundreds of thousands of followers on this random 6-second app. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what's happening. And then even on my first meet and greet, I remember thinking only like 50 people would show up. And I had around 250,000 followers at the time. And then when I had my first meet and greet at this nearby mall, I remember I had a bunch of, kids from my school go to it. Whether or not they were going to it to see me fail or succeed, that was up to them. But around 1,000 people showed up. And it was a mob, and it was the SWAT team showed up because they thought there was a shooting happening because I said that I'm doing a video shoot, and like things escalated very quickly. And I got the police, pulling me out, SWAT team. I ended up getting interviewed by like Fox that night, and it was like I'm going into school that next Monday, and my first period was Spanish, and I'll never forget. I walked in, and I had my Spanish teacher had my interview from Fox up on the smartboard.
No way.
I'm like, all right, bro, like this, I don't know if
It's
I'm
like a movie, though.
Yeah, right? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting bullied right now by my Spanish teacher, but like either way, this is kind of cool. Like if I am getting bullied, okay. If not, okay. Like I'm still up on Fox, like as a sophomore.
That's
and
crazy. That's so cool.
And then to randomly then ask my parents, hey, I want to move to LA. They're like,
how old were you when you said
You're
that?
crazy. I was 15.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they're like, dude, you're a sophomore in high school. Like, because Vine? Like, what do you mean? Like, do you realize what you're asking? Like, what are you going to not graduate, at Bishop Ireton, which was the high school I went to? And I was like, no, like, I guess not. Like, I have to do this. Like, this is what I want to do, And I want to try it, And they're like, and that's a big decision, because I could have easily failed and then came back the next year and looked like a complete jerk to like all my friends. Like, oh, you thought you were so cool, you just leave us all, and go to LA and this and that. But luckily, because my brother was graduating at the time for business and marketing, and like my parents trusted him too, like it took a lot of convincing, like months of convincing.
And you moved out here at what age?
I moved out here, I was coming back and forth at like 16, and then
that's wild.
I eventually moved out like right after my 17th birthday.
Wow.
But I was already kind of coming back and forth and staying here for a couple weeks at a time at 16. And it was interesting. Like, it was...
The fact that you grew up in all of that at 16 is crazy. You haven't had, like, at all, like, a normal childhood.
Yeah, no, my 18 to even just 21, like, even when I, like, where I would technically be in college was, at that house, that really big one I had. And then, like, that was, like...
I remember even then being like, this kid lives in this crazy-ass house. You were living the life.
Yeah, it was a very interesting...
In the Hollywood Hills.
Like...
This house is ginormous, by the way.
It was stupid. It was so stupid. I didn't even have people to fill up all the bedrooms. I
have like the life of like a king.
Yeah.
It's like crazy at your age.
Which granted,
but like you said, like all those types of things, I feel like that's why you are the way you are though. Because it's kind of like you reach such a high and then you're like, okay, what's next? And then you're like, is this fulfilling? Is this what I want? Like, how do I want to be? And like you went through all that now.
Exactly. And it was cool to have those, I would look at it and be like, oh, that was a big money mistake. I spent a lot of money on rent those 3 years, but at the end of the day, it's experiences, and it definitely helped make me who I am and cultivate this mindset I have of just like, things won't make you happy.
Yeah.
Things just won't do that. You could be in the biggest house the amount of people right now, even just within 10-mile radius right now of where we're sitting, who are sitting alone in a mansion, who have everything on paper that would be considered happiness. Oh, you got millions in the bank. You got all this attention online. People are alone though in these mansions, and it's just like I've been in that scenario before of feeling like, completely lost. Of like, yo, I'm in this really big house and I got no one to share it with, and all these
13 million followers.
Yeah,
I'm so depressed.
Yeah, and literally, no, but it's like because that comes with pressure.
Sounds crazy, but it is.
Yeah,
I know because I'm friends with so much talent that it's like that, and it's just like it's not because it's almost like getting money. Like you're just like it's never ending chase. Like what's enough? It's the same with like getting fame. It's like what's enough, and then. Like you said, you have to be doing it because you genuinely are waking up every day and you want to. And I feel like it's the same thing with everything, like even working out. Like you said, for me, I used to work out like all the time and pressure myself. Like I have to be a certain way and I have to look a certain way. I have to work out like this. I have to eat like this. And then I was like, once I stopped like putting so much pressure on that, I actually like liked my body more. And I'm like, I'm just going to go work out because I actually want to feel good today. And so I started in my mind being like, I work out to feel good, not for anything else.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like,
And that's your why.
Yeah.
That's your why.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's exciting. And that takes a lot of self-awareness and discipline to continuously create those patterns in your mind, because we're such habitual human beings. We're such pattern-based human beings of just like, I wake up, I do this, bing, bang, bing, bang, bing, bang. Like we're 95% unconscious. Like we're just consistently always doing things in our unconscious brain, habits this, habits that. And it's just like, that also has to do with the patterns in our brain of how we talk to ourselves and why we do certain things. So, you know, I've had a little bit more time than others with the internet to kind of find myself through that. And like I said, I was lucky enough to get into the internet at a time when it wasn't always about fame and notoriety and engagement and this and that. It was just about posting what you enjoyed, you know? And so I'm very blessed to be able to, like I said, get in at that time. And luckily, I've never held social media so high at this point where it is my end game. It is my end all be all, because, I mean, there's never been a long-standing career of someone who's just on the internet. Like every person who's had a career longer, you got to pivot. You got to figure out where you play your role in this world, because it's not you just dancing on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not why you were put on this earth, you know, and everyone was put on this earth with some form of talent, with something special about them. And that takes experiencing new things and meeting new people and trying to find yourself. And I think that's the beauty of it all. It's like social media, like going back to what I was saying earlier, it's a tool, you know, and if you don't know how to use that tool, it can be used against you very quickly, unconsciously. Before you know it, you're in a pit of always comparing yourself. And then that trains your mind. You just be walking on the street thinking you look hot as hell. Like, oh shit, I look good as hell right now. And then you walk past somebody, you're like, but they look better. Dang it. And it's like, no, we can all look good. We can all eat. There's enough food at the table for everyone. There's enough followers on the table for everyone. Like, it's okay.
I feel like it's like one of the things that you're making me think is like stopping and reminding yourself, like, am I actually enjoying this? Like and doing that often in your life, like with work or anything you're putting yourself towards, you're like, wait, am I enjoying this right now? Otherwise, why am I like doing it?
Yeah, people just get caught in a machine of doing it. I even literally posted a photo today, and the caption was like, take a breath, you're doing great. That's literally what the caption is, like, take a breath, you're doing great. And people were commenting like, thank you so much, thank you. I'm like, people just need to hear that. Like, just, you're doing awesome, you're doing fantastic. Like keep being the great person you are, keep inspiring, keep making people happy, keep reaching for those points in your life that, you know, might make you a little uncomfortable, because right on the other side of uncomfortability is just this exciting, invigorating moment of just like finding yourself. And, you know, it takes some time, and I feel so bad for the kids who are, you know, 9 years old with a cell phone and, you know, going to second grade or third grade and being like, this person has more followers than me. I'm like, bro, that sucks to have to deal with that.
Yeah, that is insane when you're young.
Like, I didn't have to deal. Like, imagine us being in elementary school.
That's crazy.
Crying, going home. Mom, Sarah has this many followers on Instagram. I don't. And it's like, yeah, but like you got straight A's. Yeah. You're doing like, you're the captain of your tennis team. You're the captain of like, have you not looked at all the amazing things you're doing? And people are so quick to look at the glass half empty. And I'm like,
yeah, so true.
You know, and I just feel so bad for these kids of just being like, you got to know how to be on the internet. Like, they teach us about all these different things, but now with social media having such a big part of our lives, you know, like there has to be people who can train these kids of like, look, this is cool. You can upload, you can have a fun time on the internet, but like, this isn't life.
Yeah.
This is not life.
Real.
It's literally just not real. Like, there's this AI person who, there's this, I forget what it's called. She's this AI character who's been on the internet. And it's just
I've seen her before.
Yeah, I'm like, she's
an influencer.
Yeah, she's an influencer. I'm like, you realize that you're just as easily like replaceable as AI. Like, let's put that into perspective. Like, if you don't find yourself, like someone's just gonna find yourself for you, and next thing you know, like AI will do everything. So I don't know.
Well, I know we only have like 4 minutes left, so really quickly, I want to talk to you about as quickly as possible your podcast. Obviously,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called Gen to Gen. Tell
to
people
Gen.
about your podcast.
Yes. So my podcast, Gen to Gen, short for like generation to generation. It's pretty much just like the differences and the commonalities and the similarities between my generation and my co-host generation, Eric Griffin, who's an actor, stand-up comedian, podcaster, and just overall great guy. And we dive into a lot of different topics. And we just try to keep it. This is gonna sound super cliche. We just try to keep it real, honestly. Like me and him, we're not a scenario where it's like, all right, Eric, you're you, Matthew's Matthew. Let's put you guys in a room together and let's have some fun. Yeah, it's like, no, I've known him for a long time.
That's cool.
And me and him, like he's been to my home in Virginia, when he was traveling, and I wasn't even there. I was in LA, and he was having a show in Virginia, and my family came out, and they drove him back, drove him to the airport. He also had like a home cooked meal at my house and all this stuff. So like he's like family to me, and
he's really well known. Like he's a big stand-up comedian. So I was like, it's super cool. When I watched your podcast today, I watched it, and I got super into it within like seconds. And I was just telling you before we started filming that like just within moments of me watching it, I was like, oh, right into it. So
Thank you.
Anyone that hasn't seen it needs to go check it out. And I feel like it is a really cool concept between, obviously your generation and social media, but also like this big celebrity that's seen getting famous and building a career in the limelight in a totally different way, and like showing those two worlds, and then also like what's going on in society and stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And we always keep each other accountable too. Like he'll call me out all the time. I'll call him out all the time. If I'm like, no, I don't agree with that or this, that, like we're okay with being ourselves to each other, which is going back to my authenticity point. And it's something I always wanted to do for a long time. I was trying to think, okay, I want to do a podcast, but I don't want to do it with someone who has the similar mindset as me. I want to do it with someone that I can learn from. You know what I'm saying?
You like contradict your thoughts, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, anyone of any age can go to it, and some episodes feel like a student, and other episodes feel like a teacher based on whatever topic we're talking about.
Yeah,
because
that's
there's
cool.
both those angles there. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, and and it's just the beginning. So we're just cultivating a team right now to get back into it and start taking it where we need to take it.
Sick. Okay, one of the questions I always ask everyone is, what do you feel like is your $1 billion quality that got you to the place you are now?
I think and this is gonna sound super corny, but I think just my authenticity. I've been so many times not myself over the last even just 10 years on the internet and this and that, and I've learned to just really start being okay with just being myself and being a work in progress and ever evolving. And I think that point right there allows people to feel related to me. And so I think that of just being okay with not being perfect, not being like I'm just a human being, and I just want to be able to relate to people.
Yeah.
So I think that just like my authenticity of just really I love just being myself.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Cute. All right. Well, I love you, Matthew. Tell everyone where they can find you on all your social medias and your podcast name again. And
So you can follow me, find me, search me, FBI stalk me on Instagram or TikTok under Matthew Espinosa. Same Twitter, Espinosa with an S. Some people put it with a Z, but it's with an S. And then Snapchat, it's just at Matthew. So.
And Gen to Gen podcast.
Oh yeah, and Gen to Gen
which
podcast.
you need to listen to. So good.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Love you too.
It's so good. It was a good talk because I feel fulfilled by it.
Yes,
I feel
that's good.
energized by a talk.
Yeah.
I
know. I do too.
Yeah. Such a good episode today. Please let us know in the comments what your favorite parts are. Me and Matthew are going to be reading all of them and responding to you guys. And you can follow me on Instagram at TARUHHH, where I will be posting everything $1 Billion Baby.